worsen the situation for particularly Indigenous people and the justice system right now.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as the Honourable Member knows, Indigenous women are the fastest growing population in our prisons right now. And quite frankly, and have been for a number of years, those women are in prison because of addictions, trauma, mental health, and poverty. And quite frankly, it has been proven that these tough-on-crime policies are actually disproportionately impact Indigenous and racialized peoples. They've also been proven to not be effective. His name is escaping me, but the gentleman who was in charge of justice for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper has written a book about these. Ben Perrin has written a book about, which I have not read yet, about how these failed policies actually make it worse and don't solve the crime issue, they actually make it worse. So, Madam Speaker, I would say to the Honourable Member that these tough-on-crime policies will not keep Canadians safe and would actually make it more dangerous for the public safety of Canadians and Indigenous.
Questions et commentaires? Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Saanich-Go-Filings.
Well, first of all, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for splitting her time with me. And second, I want to interrupt. I think it's the first time I've ever yelled anything out in the House, but I remembered the name Benjamin Perrin. He's doing fantastic work in looking at the evidence and realizing that the policies he used to espouse when he was in Stephen Harper's PMO were, despite how much he believed at the time they'd be helpful, realized that things like tough on drugs and tough on crime really come down to dumb on drugs and dumb on crime, and you really have to look at the evidence. So my question to the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary is, how does she feel we can best address what I hope to get to in my speech? She's sharing the time with me. Can we ensure better training of police officers? They don't get a lot of training and experience before they hit the streets. Does she think that's part of the solution?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, and I thank my friend and colleague for the question tonight. You know, former Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale said to me one time that police officers need as much training in human rights as they do in criminal justice. And, you know, I know that the RCMP is working with the University of Regina and working to enhance their training. We need to make police services safe places for women, for Indigenous peoples, for racialized people to be able to come in and change the culture within the service. And there needs to be better training, but we also need to do a better job of recruiting a diverse base. And we need to look at whether or not the RCMP are the right service to be responding in Indigenous communities, and whether the Indigenous communities should be designing their own policing model. And we need to leave that up to each individual community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Time for a very brief question from the Honourable